As I've said before, we want patients on a good foundational diet, and then we want to supplement that diet with multivitamin, multimineral, sufficient vitamin D, and we also want to make sure that patients are getting the so-called essential fatty acids that they need. These are ALA, EPA, and DHA as the omega-3 fatty acids, and the anti-inflammatory omega-6 fatty acid, GLA. So the more complete scientific names of these fatty acids are alpha-linolenic acid, gamma-linolenic acid, icosapentaenoic acid, and docosahexaenoic acid. Also oleic acid and phytochemicals and squalene from olive oil. Historical Paleolithic intake of omega-3 fatty acids was 7 grams per day. The typical American or Western diet provides 1 gram per day. So therefore, if we were to estimate physiologic requirements based on historical provisions, we could reasonably state that most people need to consume more omega-3 fatty acids, and that is clearly borne out in the clinical research using those fatty acids. Typical dose of GLA starts at 500 milligrams per day. Typical dose of EPA and DHA is approximately 2 grams per day at least. I've published some major reviews on this back in 2004, 2005, and you can access those articles from my website. Again, the health-promoting fatty acids ALA, GLA, EPA, DHA, and oleic acid from olive oil have consistently shown proven anti-inflammatory and clinical benefits in randomized placebo-controlled trials. The molecular mechanisms of what I call combination fatty acid therapy include the following: precursor competition in cell membranes, activation of PPAR gamma and PPAR alpha, otherwise known as fatty acid receptors. Also nutrigenomic effects, modulation of gene transcription via downregulation of NF-kappa B, which I've discussed previously and I'll continue to discuss as kind of a common theme or common inflammatory pathway throughout this presentation. Those anti-inflammatory fatty acids effect their biological functions through their conversion to docosahexaenes, resolvins, protectants, and mucins. These are active in the healing process and provide also anti-inflammatory benefits. These fatty acids also provide reduction in hypothalamic inflammation by modulation of toll-like receptor 4. They also help to induce the T regulatory cells through several different mechanisms, including the activation of PPAR gamma by gamma-linolenic acid. Also anti-inflammatory, anti-hyperlipidemic, and anti-diabetic benefits through the activation of GPR 120. These fatty acids also provide improved cell membrane dynamics and function, and we know that many receptors are on the surface of cell membranes. So when we improve the components of that cell membrane, we improve the function, for example, hormone reception and intercellular communication. Omega-3 fatty acids optimize not simply the cell membranes, but also the membranes of the mitochondria. So in that way, omega-3 fatty acids actually help to improve and support mitochondrial function. Omega-3 fatty acids also support improved neurotransmitter synthesis and reception. Also a reduction in intracellular calcium with omega-3 fatty acids, thus lessening a pro-inflammatory phenotype. And point number 12, concluding this page, the combination of omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids in the form of GLA has synergistic and cumulative anti-inflammatory benefits. So for example, what you'll see in many clinical trials is that they only have a duration, let's say, of 3 months. Just like with the vitamin D studies, that is insufficient. So one of the main ways that these nutrients function is by saturating cell membranes and body fat stores prior to effecting their full clinical benefits. So clinical trials that are of a duration of only 3 months typically do not show maximal benefit of fatty acid therapy or vitamin D supplementation. More time is needed in order to saturate body fat stores with those nutrients in order to gain the clinical and physiologic benefits. Now, relatively recently in 2018 and 2019, a series of articles were published in leading or misleading journals stating that fish oil supplementation was not effective for prevention of cardiovascular events. Immediately thereafter, a new and prescription-only and very expensive fish oil product was brought to the market at a cost of nearly $300 per month or $10 per day. I produced a series of articles and video reviews showing that the data presented against fish oil was grossly flawed, including the fact that they underdosed the product to create the illusion of inefficacy. The clinical trials also included failure of appropriate lab evidence to substantiate compliance and absorption of the products that they were using. They used fake placebos, such as olive oil, to make fish oil look inefficacious, and they also used a fake placebo in the form of mineral oil to make fish oil look miraculous. So they changed the comparator against fish oil depending on the illusion that they wanted to create. So when they wanted to make fish oil look inefficacious, they compared it against olive oil, which is also cardioprotective and anti-inflammatory. When they wanted to make fish oil look great, they challenged it against mineral oil, which is known to be pro-inflammatory and to cause nutrient deficiencies by blocking nutrient absorption. Major conflicts of interest among the authors and the editors, descriptions of researchers as independent investigators, when in fact they were paid and supervised by drug companies that want to influence the results. So I invite you to take a look at those video reviews. You can find those on my Vimeo channel at vimeo.com/Dr. Vasquez. You can also see a review article that I published with Dr. Joe Pizzorno in his journal Integrative Medicine, February 2019, concerns about the integrity of the scientific research process, focus on recent negative publications regarding nutrition, multivitamins, fish oil, and cardiovascular disease. Going back to the diet now, I mentioned that we want to help our patients avoid the foods to which they are allergic or allergically sensitized. Consumption of foods to which a person is sensitized is known to promote the formation of immune complexes, trigger migraine headaches, increase intestinal permeability, and also adversely affect the gastrointestinal microflora. The most common allergenic foods are listed here: wheat, orange, and